Hi everyone, welcome to MDP. Wait, no, MDPebble. Lol, MDPebble podcast number 3. And today is a very exciting day because we have a special guest. That's right, we're basically Jimmy Fallon.
Funny. Okay, guys, welcome Kklolbee. Say hi.
Hey, hello. I love how MDP Arts just took over the introduction.
Yeah, we made a plan that Pebble was gonna start it, but it's just happened. We're rolling with it.
You know what? It is what it is.
Fair enough.
Should I tell them what we're actually going to talk about today?
Yes.
Kind of important. Okay, we're going to be talking about personal art versus art for school and education, and how you feel and what the difference is. I know that Kklolbee in particular has had some clashes at school before, and it's just
Maybe
they're very different.
Yeah, what's interesting right now as well is that she does art in her free time. She doesn't do it as a subject anymore.
Yeah, we should mention that we all did art
GCSEs,
which is the standard examinations in England, and me and MDP now do it at A level, but Kklolbee does not. She does.
Yeah, because you can choose, can't you? You choose later what subjects you want to do. But I decided to
big brain stuff.
Probably it's for the better, I'll be honest. Like, I love art, but sometimes I hate it.
Join the club.
Literally. Maybe not as much as you guys. I don't need to experience the A-level stress of doing art every single waking moment of my life.
It's definitely an experience.
It is quite kind of extreme, isn't it?
Especially for me, because I do
everything she does is arts, basically.
Oh god.
Yeah, so I was gonna ask you guys, because I didn't get the chance to ask you guys earlier, but if you were to choose to, like, for full time carry on doing student art at school, or would you completely drop it and do it at home? Which one do you think is better?
I think it's a bit late for me to change my mind now.
Because you see, for higher education, you can apply for different types of courses. I mean, for me right now, it's a bit too late, but I probably would have gone for an illustration course, like digital illustration, something like that.
That's the thing. When people say art, they just think of general, like, doing a drawing, but there's so many different avenues to it. I don't really think
literally. I think we've been taking part in the art challenges, Noble's art challenge, haven't we, every Friday? Well, for me, first time Friday. But when I did my little piece for the theme of Greek gods,
insert photo in the video.
I was telling my mum about it, and I when I finished mine, she was like, "Oh yeah, that looks cool, whatever." And then when this other girl who won, she won through with her digital art, and I showed it to her, and she was like, "Is this art? Did she draw it?" And I was like, "Yeah, people actually sit down, get like a pen in their hand, and draw on the different screens and tablets and whatever." And it's just so it's developed so much, the definition for art.
That's very true. Yeah.
That's the thing, especially with digital art, it's changed so much within the actual art scene.
I mean, there's a lot of people that have this kind of opinion. It's like a boomer opinion, in my opinion, where digital art is easy. That's what some people say. And
yeah.
I actually disagree. When I first tried digital art 5 years ago, my hand was so shaky. I couldn't draw a single thing. I couldn't draw a circle, couldn't draw an eye, nothing. I literally couldn't draw a single thing. So it's not easy.
It is a skill because you have to learn to understand the brushes that you're working with, what textures they can make, and all of the different ways that you can manipulate what you're actually drawing on a computer. And people will be like, "Oh, it's just cheating because you can just press the undo button." But honestly, the amount of stuff that I rub out if I'm doing a real drawing versus the amount of stuff I undo if I'm doing a digital drawing is basically the same.
Yeah.
So
like I've always done traditional art, and like I look at you guys, like your pieces and your different digital art, and I'm just like shook. Like I can't hold like I can't even imagine myself drawing like online. Like I'd see different TikToks and that of people doing tutorials. There's so much information, there's so much things that you have to do, there's so many layers. I don't even understand layers. I'm like, what is that? So when you guys do your work, I'm like, wow.
You see, Pebble is a bit extra special. She does like 30 plus layers.
Oh no,
while
no,
I
no.
do like 5.
No, you're underestimating it there. I'll explain. Last time I did a drawing, for the same art challenge,
It's that photo?
Yeah, I did Aphrodite, and I ended up with like the final product had about 40 something layers, but that had involved before merging another 40 layers down to about 6, and then I had to do that again. So I think in total I must have had like over 100. It was pretty ridiculous.
Just makes no sense to me. Like how the fact that you need different layers for different things. I would have like, as like a noob, if someone handed me like a digital tablet and they were like draw, I'd just do it all in the same like go, expecting the best.
The thing is though, there are digital artists that don't use layers. They'll do everything on the same one. It just depends on the process of the artist. But ultimately, the worst feeling, and any digital artist can relate to this, is when you do your line art on your reference layer.
Or when you just lose your drawing like 3 times, you know? That happens. That happens. Definitely not triggered at all.
MDP's salty, guys.
Yeah, it's because for the same art challenge, I drew a sketch. I was kind of proud of it. I lost it. Then I did some progress, restarted it, then lost it again. So I had to draw it the 3rd time round.
It was terrible.
It was fun. Also, mad respects to people who draw with their finger on their phone or tablet. Because to save my life, I cannot draw with my fingers. I've tried it before, it just doesn't work.
The only thing I drew on my fingers was when we did, the Meet the Artist, the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I did that on Procreate Pocket on my phone, and oh my god, my fingers were aching so much by the time that I was finished. I was like, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, it is a skill.
But that's the thing, there's so many people now that do digital art. I think schools, I know they don't have the equipment, but I think they should at least cover some sort of, because they do cover a lot of things, a lot of different media, but it's all fine art, it's all traditional. And I feel like, I know some schools don't have the like equipment, don't have the funding for it, but they could at least, like, I don't know, watch a clip on like how to do layers, how to do different digital art, because most people prefer to do digital art. Traditional
art. These days, yeah.
I think especially on Instagram and on the internet, digital art is much more prevalent than traditional, just because it's more consumer friendly. There's much more colour, it's much more cartoony. People like to see it more. It's reminiscent of like Disney and stuff like that. But then, especially, I found that when I put my more contemporary based stuff online, it just doesn't get the same feedback, and then a lot of people get discouraged, which is why I think a lot of people still hold contemporary art in regards of being like more posh and more like, that's like boring.
Another thing about schools is you have to meet their expectations, the teachers' expectations, grade boundaries, all that pizzazz.
Stop those words.
The AO sheets where you have to do a variety of mediums and whatever. It's very stressful.
That's the thing, especially with me. I keep the digital stuff that I do and the traditional stuff that I do very, very separate, because I just feel like if I try and put one into the other, they won't be accepted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
People I just won't get anything back from it, which is kind of...
MDP said, a lot of the work at school, you have to follow certain, well, I was going to say vague ideas, but it's not really vague. It's like, especially with GCSE, depends on the exam board and whatever, there are certain things they're expecting, and certain things you have to include, which I think just limits the art so much. So like compared to school and outside of school you could do whatever. Like, you've got the mood for it, sure, go for it. You've got an art block, fine, don't do art for like a whole month. But with school you have to keep going, no matter like how little ideas you have or how many ideas you have.
It's kind of funny because they always talk about how you've got so much freedom in art, you can do whatever you want, but you're still having to follow these really strict guidelines and do exactly what your teacher says so that you can get the grade. And it just takes like the whole element of art is completely what you want to do, what you can make of it. And it's just like, no, because it's not, because my teachers told me that I haven't got enough drawing in my sketchbook, so I have to do this, otherwise I won't get a grade. Even though I don't want to do that, I want to go and make a sculpture of a dog.
Yeah,
I think it's something that I mentioned in the last podcast, is that what sucks about school art is that usually it has to be thematic, and then you have to stick to the theme, and you can't necessarily change it.
Even if you have like a better idea for a different theme, they'll tell you to stick with the one that you don't like, and it just ruins the whole experience.
It's like you have to document your whole thought process, but when your thought process gets like, because especially with me, I find the weirdest links in between the weirdest things, so I don't know, I can't think of an example, but I can go from one idea to another very, very quickly, but then I have to come up with a reason to make it fit, and it just takes away like the whole fun of it, because it's like, well, if I have to explain everything, then
what's the point?
Exactly.
I think me and Pebbles used to be in the same class, in the same set.
I was lonely.
And we had this teacher, we'll name her Mrs. K, and she used to like promote freedom, promote like creativity, different themes, but if you did some sort of piece that wasn't to her expectation, she would change it. She would go out of her way, stick your pages together, rip them out, or like sometimes even like take a pen and like change your art, which just I think ruins it. And then she expects you to think of a reason why it's changed. And like Pebble said, like it's so hard to link two thoughts together because everyone has a different mindset when it comes to art. And like expecting one person to explain their ideas is so difficult.
That's true.
The one thing I hate is the documentation of everything, because it's just so annoying.
Reflective journals and everything.
When I just have to sit down, I'm like, I did this because I thought this would be good with this. But sometimes I just do stuff because I'm like, I'm in the middle of a drawing and I'm like, you know what, if I put a line there, that would look really good. And then it ends up looking really good. And it's just, I hate that you have to justify absolutely everything.
Everything, yeah. It has to be explained really well so that the examinator knows what you're on about and knows what you're doing.
And then I can go home and I can draw like literally anything I want with no
explanations.
And it's such a good feeling because I'm like, I don't have to stick to any guidelines. I don't have to do this for someone. I don't have to have this in by a deadline. It's just great.
That is true, but right now it's a bit hard finding time between having the time to do out of school art, because you have to keep up with inside of school art, if it makes sense.
That's the problem. To me, digital art is so addictive. Once I start a drawing, I will literally not stop doing it for days. I will stay up really late. I will just keep going until it's done. 105 layers later, and I'm like, yeah, that looks good. It's so bad.
With your A-levels, do you guys get the chance to do digital art, or is it still the same as GCSE where you have to keep to a certain, I don't know, media or fine art?
I did do digital art, but she didn't really like it. She was like,
that's classic.
She liked it, but then literally last time we had a call, which was 2 weeks ago, she was like, that's the only thing that doesn't actually suit the whole sketchbook. It would be better if you take it out. She literally said it would be better if you take it out. So...
But that's the thing with... You guys do fine art, isn't it? Or is it different?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing with fine art. It's all different sort of medias. So if she, like, why doesn't... it just angers me. The fact that saying one bit of art is less than a bit of art is just wrong. Like, different styles, different people enjoy different styles. Why does it have to be taken out just because she doesn't like it?
It is quite sad that favoritism and people who fit the style of art that the teacher enjoys the most will often get the highest praise.
That is true.
And more attention.
If you don't do what they want you to do, they won't like you as much, which is really, really annoying.
Yeah. We had, in our set, in mine and Pebble's set, we had this one girl. Her name, let's call her Elle. So, this girl, Elle, she was, the classic loudest girl you could think of. We went to an all-girls school, so imagine the amount of beef you could have. Yeah. And she was the loudest person. She would always backtalk the teacher. But just because, I don't know what it is, it's like the same with English teachers and art teachers. They just favour, like, the popular, brackets.
The very talkative kids, basically.
Yes. And what she did, she'd print out pieces of magazines and stick them together. That's it. Like, I don't want to degrade one person's art from another, like I said, but, like, yeah. And she'd put little to no effort in. And like Pebble said, favoritism, horrible, especially at our school.
It's sad when some people can get away with stuff that other people would be absolutely killed for. It's just not fair. Like, if I spoke back to a teacher like that, then I'd get so told off.
Detention, yeah.
But they just accept it. They're like, oh, haha, you're so funny. Oh my god. Like,
so, yeah, especially in our set, no one talked. Just because it was full of the classic shy, artsy people. Like, we didn't want to talk and engage in lesson. We just wanted to do art. We came in, we wanted to draw. But she would favour the people that would talk, obviously, just because I feel like she was a chatty teacher as well. Just read the room, miss.
To be honest, we have that in our set as well. Nobody talks, like, whatsoever. And then she picks on people and she's like, hey, you MDP, say something to do with that. And I'm like...
Nah.
I don't know.
I'll pass on that one, Chief.
Literally. Oh, question for you, Kklolbee. Are you glad that you don't do art for A-levels?
Yes. That's not even a question.
Uh-oh.
I feel like it depends. Honestly, if the teacher was a lot less pushy and didn't have as many boundaries as all of what I experienced in GCSE, I feel like it's just my relationship with the teacher just put me off. But generally as well, I just had a different, like, future career in mind, so I didn't feel like art would fit into it. But I always liked, like, the only thing I did like about having an exam board is just having a vague path, because sometimes I have no ideas. Like, I just have art block after art block, no ideas. So I like the fact that sometimes they'd be like, oh yeah, pick a theme about an emotion. I like that, because you still have creativity, but like a set path, kind of. But after seeing yours and Pebble's books and workload and countless hours spent on doing research on artists, taking photos, I swear you guys write more about art than you actually do the art.
Yes.
And we've got to do the PI as well. When you get to A level, you have to write like a 3,000 word study about the theme that you're exploring, but you get to pick the theme yourself, which makes it a bit better. Except when you're in year 12, you pick an idea and you're like, oh, this would be really good, and then you get halfway through year 13 and you realise that
you want to change it. Yeah, you want to change it. You want to do something different, but that doesn't fit the theme anymore. Yeah, that happens.
But like people develop anyway, so you guys probably develop your personalities and you just develop your art at the same time.
God, I love art. Apart from when we don't.
I feel sorry.
Yeah. No, carry on.
When we were choosing different A-levels and different GCSEs, I remember asking one of the older people, so what do you do in art? And she was so honest with me. She was like, we write essays, we write page after page, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because along with the PI, you also have to keep reflecting your work. You have to finish a piece of work, you have to take a photo of it, you have to put it in a different sketchbook and write about it. You have 3 different sketchbooks, and that's insane.
3?
3, yeah. One which is a sketchbook with just your artwork in it. Then you have a reflective journal where you reflect on your work. And then you have a critical journal where you put your research in.
But
it takes a lot of organisation, which I do not have, which is bad. But you know what? I thought going to uni to do art was going to be a good idea.
But it's not the same as A-level art, isn't it? You have so much more freedom, I feel like, at uni. Like, because you'll have different people doing different styles of art. Like, the professor there is not going to be like, hey, you're doing digital art, ew. Like, that's not going to happen, surely.
I've had a couple of interviews for some of them. And I remember when I had one for one uni, the leader of the course that I was going to be on sort of had like a welcome bit at the start of all the interviews. So it was like all the people that had applied were in this meeting. It was very awkward. But he was just talking about like what they did, and he was like, I will support like whatever you want to do, really. If you want to build this is his actual words, by the way. He was like, if you want to build a 40-foot statue of like a guinea pig out of bronze, sure, we can do that for you. And I was like, this sounds cool. I want to do that.
That's sweet.
I'm just excited for like uni level facilities. You know?
Oh, the amount of funding you're gonna get for your equipment.
It's gonna be so good. I can't wait.
You get to use a proper silk screen.
Oh, so excited.
Yeah, because especially recently, like at unis, they have so many equipment. Like, I was like browsing. Like, I'm not even thinking about doing an art course. Like, I haven't applied for art, but like I like to check it out just in case. And it just looks so nice. Like, there's a whole like block for art, and it's like, I don't know, 5 stories, and it's full of different medias and rooms, and it's just heaven.
That's true.
It's so good. I remember our school, government funding, especially at schools, they just like, they don't regale the art departments as being that high of priority. So I remember our teacher telling us that their budget was 50p per student because they couldn't afford to like do anything else. It's just kind of sad.
Art is expensive at our school. The art packs, oh my god.
Yeah,
Every year you have to pay for an art pack, and it's not cheap. That
is one con about it. If you're doing traditional art, you constantly have to buy like new media and stuff like that. But if you do digital, just buy yourself a graphics tablet.
You know, those aren't expensive. It's fine. You know.
No, just a cheeky
it's an investment, isn't it?
But in the long run, it probably is an investment, especially if you do like commissions or something, and you're like a fast worker.
Speed is another thing. I don't have speed. I need speed though.
It's good to just like take your time though. Take your time for a piece of work.
But in the real world, you have to meet these deadlines, and you have to meet people's expectations. That's how I see it. Like, for a commission, a person might get frustrated if you promise that it's going to be done in 2 weeks, but you don't get it done in 2 weeks, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because they pay you for it, and yeah, it's just stressful.
I feel like with digital art, do you get more commissions? Because I do traditional art. It's so hard for me to try and like promote my work, because I'd like go on Facebook, like I join like Facebook commission groups, and all of it's like looking for commissions digital of like a character of me, like £5 or something, and I'm like, nah, can't do that.
Personally, I don't know, because I am open for commissions. So far, I had one, which is my mother.
Number one supporter.
Is your mum the one that got mad at you because you didn't get it done in 2 weeks?
Yes, it took me 3 weeks.
I love that.
Client exposed. What happened to client confidentiality?
It's my mum, it's fine.
This ain't got it.
She liked it in the end, though.
That's good.
What was it?
It was, I don't know if you've seen it on my Instagram, the drawing of my tortoise.
Yes.
Yeah.
She wanted a Squirtle drawing, so I did that.
Please put the drawing on the screen. And the photo.
That's
the photo.
That's cute. But like when you mentioned like back to the funding of like our schools, when you said 50p per person, you'd have that, but then sometimes our teachers, like I remember in year 7, and we weren't allowed to use acrylic paint because it was just too much. We had to use those like, you know, like DIY craft paint, like, you know, that wouldn't even stick to the paper. And then,
Funny story.
Sorry, yeah?
Yeah, carry on.
No, that was it. That was the end.
I wanted to talk about how me and Pebble were in this potato competition.
Oh no, don't. Not that.
What? This is the first time I'm hearing it.
And we made a cardboard cutout of a potato. And our food tech teacher was like, go to the art room upstairs and paint it. And we got the A-level paint out.
Oh
Just
my God.
It was like the first paint that was in a drawer.
It wasn't even really on the drawer, it was just loose. So we just grabbed it and painted.
And plus, I don't think the teachers had ever actually explained to us that we couldn't use those paints. So we were like merrily painting away. And then the art teacher comes in and she's like, oh my Jesus Christ, what are you doing?
What year was this?
Year 7.
Oh God.
So this was like our nice, gentle art teacher. She was really young, she was really lovely, and she was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm gonna have to send you to like the head of art because it's just not acceptable. I'm sorry. So this was when we didn't know the infamous Mrs. Co yet, and she was very scary. And she told us off a lot. And I nearly cried.
Then she talked to the food tech teacher, and the food tech teacher had to apologise as well. I felt so bad about that.
It was just not a good experience. But now we're like mates with her, so it's fine.
We are literally like best friends.
I've never been more scared of her than I was in that moment. It was so horrible.
As you can imagine, guys, the infamous Mrs. K. Imagine your typical art teacher. Weird cardigans and long skirts and the biggest curly hair, or like put up in like a messy bun. It's like I'm describing like a Wattpad girl, like, you know.
And glasses.
But she is exactly.
Not Wattpad. Oh God.
And the classic apron with like 50 different. Oh my God! I just had a memory. Do you guys remember when she would collect dead?
She still does.
Roadkill for art.
Oh God.
She still does.
Yeah, she still does. Like in one of the lessons, she was talking about how she had a golden pheasant in her freezer because someone gave it to her, but her daughter told her to like get rid of it because they didn't have any more space in the freezer.
Imagine you go downstairs, you open the freezer because you're having like a midnight I don't know, crave for ice cream and you see like a toad and a golden pheasant. That'd be so scary.
I think she did an exhibition for us, didn't she? Like there was like a wooden piece of plank, and like she like nailed animals. I was like, what is this?
Do you guys remember that one? They did an exhibition for us once at school, and we have like a dark room for photography. And basically, this one piece of art was you went in there and put these headphones on, and then there was like the sound of pigs being killed in the slaughterhouse. And it was just like a bunch of year nines in this completely pitch dark room listening to a pig getting murdered. It was the most harrowing experience of my life. It was awful.
And then you'd have like the pig being slaughtered, and then the next sound would be like a jungle with a parrot, and you had to like guess what these sounds were. It was just so odd.
Yeah, fine art here in our school is so weird.
It might be different for other people. Other people listening to this might be like, "What is happening? What cult school did they go to?"
The thing is, though, unfortunately, now that I'm going to study fine art and I'm such interested in it, I understand it all, which makes it even worse because I have to be able to justify it in my head. And I'm like, I know why they're doing this, but it's still really weird to listen to.
Yeah.
Getting killed.
I know why they're doing it. I understand it in like terms of art that it's very creative, but it's still it's very odd. Yeah, it's very odd.
That might be just our experiences. You hear like people might be thinking, what is happening? My arts teacher was the loveliest person ever. Nah. This is the infamous, I can't say our school name because yeah.
The thing is though, our art department is really well renowned, and like there's uni recruiters who like will be like, oh yeah, I know that school just because we're so good and our art department is so good, but it's still just kind of weird.
To be fair, our school is kind of like I know most schools care about their reputation, but our school, oh my god, when we had the people come in to check our like, I don't know, what were they checking?
Ofsted.
Like just Ofsted. They were just coming in, and we got outstanding for our school. Oh my god, our school is so extra. They got balloons that spell outstanding.
Oh, they are very extra. Yeah.
They had it in reception for like, I don't know, 2 weeks until the balloons died, and then we're like year 7s taking photos with it. Like,
oh god, not year 7s. I can't deal with them.
Yeah, our school is definitely something.
The thing is though, so much has changed in the last year, especially with like what we're doing in art, because we can't actually use any of the resources at school because we're not there. So it's like,
so what sort of things do you do now?
Cry. Just cry.
Except cry and have a breakdown. Like, what sort of things would you do? Like, because you know, with virtual school, you can't exactly log into PowerPoint and draw or 3D paint or whatever. My paint. Is that my paint is deleted, isn't it?
Don't know.
I know
right now Pebble is doing lino, which is pretty cool.
Our school has been pretty good because they've offered to like bring resources to our houses, and I spend too much money and I do buy a lot of like art materials, so I have like plaster and stuff like that at home already, which I'm able to use luckily. But I know that I've struggled a lot with like actually coming up with ideas because I just have no motivation to do it. I'm like, what's the point? Literally, what is the point?
And this is coming from the classic art student who you've got like the triple stress and but that's like the biggest difference I think between art at home and art at school is the fact that you have like no boundaries when you're at home. Like that's it. You want to do art, you do art, that's it. You wake up one day, you're like, you know what, I want to paint a block. Hell yeah, I'm gonna paint a block.
Yeah.
At least you guys have like the tiniest bit of freedom with your IPs, is it?
PIs.
Oh, PIs.
Another stressful thing about school art is exams. Like the exam, you're timed.
Oh,
and I'm
oh
like,
my god. Oh god. How long do you guys have for A-level art? The exams?
I mean,
I think it's the same amount of time. Or maybe I'm wrong. I don't actually know
5
because
hours and then 10 lessons afterwards.
No, that's just for what we might be having this year. I don't know what it would be in like if we were actually having them.
Oh, that's true.
Because I remember GCSE, we had 5 hours for mocks, and then 10 hours for the actual thing. So, and then I remember hearing from someone that it was 15 hours, but I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it's something like that. It's definitely a lot longer.
Yeah, because what I know is that if we had exams going on normally, our PI wouldn't be the exam. It would be just part of the coursework.
Oh, right. Is it now with the exam? Has it changed?
Now the PI is the only thing we are being graded on.
God, imagine deciding your PI like half a year. When did you guys decide your guys?
September.
Exactly. Imagine deciding on September and you hate it, and then you get told that it's now being like grade.
And basically the stuff that we've done last year, no, we're not being graded on that anymore, so that's going down the drain.
I
can't even remember what I did last year. That's how bad it's got.
The thing is with exams, it was so silly. Like, you put into like you spend the whole day at your table and you can't talk. Like you're doing art, but you can't
listen to music.
Talk. Yeah, it's just what like it's not like you're sharing history answers or like math equations. You're like people are doing different things. You can't like how are you gonna turn around and be like, oh yeah, you're using pencil. Rub that out. That's gonna get you a grade 9. Like no one's grade 4 or something. Like no one's gonna do that. Like people just like to chat.
The one thing that I didn't understand is that they were like, oh, you're not allowed to use the printer because it uses Wi-Fi. But so many people like relied on collage and stuff like that, and they needed the printer to actually do stuff. So that means you've got to do it all before. And then it's like, if you finish your piece before the end of the exam, you just sat there doing nothing.
Oh god. I remember I remember for the actual exam, like the end of GCSE exam, I was going to do a etching, and it was 3 different pieces. And I remember like 24 hours before the exam, Miss was like, how about you also do a charcoal drawing? You're going to run out of time. And I was like, huh? Like what? So I remember the night before, I was like crying at my desk because I had to prepare like a whole section of charcoal experiments, charcoal like drafts and that, because you can't just do a piece without evidence in your book, which was so silly. I remember like doing it, and I remember like thinking, why am I doing this? Like this is actual hell.
Yeah.
But it's fun, right, guys?
So fun. God, I love art so much.
Everyone take heart.
But if you genuinely love fine art and love writing pages and pages and researching artists and basically copying them, then go for it. Art is for you.
Like, I'll be honest, in school art, I don't think they taught me anything except for how to use some mediums. Like,
I don't remember.
We've never looked at anatomy. We've never looked at that.
Literally.
We've only looked at shading, a sphere.
Oh, what were the 7 classic things? It was like colour, shape, composition.
Yeah, we looked at that, but it was very vague. Like monochromatic painting. Remember when we did the stripes? And we kept adding white to the black and colour. Oh my god. It was living
It's just because it's just like any other subject. The teachers have a checklist that they have to go through to teach us. And that's it. Like it doesn't matter if we're good at it or anything. As long as they've covered it, then it's our own, like we have to do it in our own time.
Yeah, the thing is, they didn't even actually teach us this. They just showed it vaguely, and they're like, okay, go off and do it by yourself. That was literally all they did.
I feel like I learned more through TikTok artists showing how to draw hands than I have through my 5 years at school.
The thing is, though, so I don't know what to say, because I agree with you in like some ways, but I also don't in others, because like fine art isn't necessarily about that. I know for me, I've learned a lot about analysis and appreciation and what fine art really is. And obviously, like, it just depends on what's important to people. Like, if anatomy is something that you wanted to do, fine art probably isn't the place to learn that. It would probably be more like an illustration, possibly, or
sadly in A-levels we don't have that.
Yeah, it just depends on like what courses you have available. It's sad.
But I feel like
I understand they taught me how to use, a silk screen, how to do liner, but they haven't actually taught me anything about drawing itself, which is something I'd appreciate a bit more. But
I feel like most of the analysis was you have to look at an artist, research them, find out their background, and somehow interpret that into your work, which I felt like I've never, until I left art and started doing it outside of school, I never really developed like my own style, and I've only started now figuring out what my style is. But when I left, I didn't, GCSE finished in year 11, so I was 16, and I only started drawing again when I was 17, just because I hated, I had no ideas, because with the GCSE you have they give you certain themes and certain things you have to follow. So I had a massive art block, and I know it's not for it's not the same for everyone, but
yeah, art block is quite common, especially for school when you have to churn out ideas all the time.
Literally, they drain you out like a towel.
I used to get so tired. I'd be like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I've got nothing else to show. I've got no other ideas. I don't know what to do.
And then the worst thing is when you say that to a teacher, you're like, I have no ideas, and they're like, well, think about this, and you're like, I have thought about that, but I don't like it doesn't sit right with me. And they'd be like, still do it, experiment. The whole thing is experimenting to find yourself. What? Sometimes you just need a teacher to tell you what to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes do think there is a point where we do get a bit too much freedom, and they just let us go too much. They don't sometimes give the advice that you're seeking for.
Yeah, when you guys have little tutorials, don't you? Where you have a one-to-one with the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
But that tutorial ends up, instead of you finding information, it ends up them lecturing you what your work is and what was and stuff, instead of helping you to improve. MDP art. The way you've said how sometimes she'll tell you that she doesn't like your art. That's not helpful for you, because then now you have to think of a whole new thing to replace what you've done.
Yeah, and your focus doesn't become what you want to show. It becomes how to please the teacher.
Exactly.
Which isn't what you should be doing.
Yeah, this is something I'm used to doing in my A-levels.
I remember once, I think, I don't know if I feel like it was in mine and Pebble set, with a teacher, oh my god, she literally shamed this one girl. She picked up her work, and I remember she showed it to the class, and she was like, this is what you're not supposed to do. What? How low must you be to go and embarrass one of your students who thinks that art is actually good? What?
She even got praise from her friends, I think, for the art she did.
Just sad.
Yeah.
Do you guys ever get the fact that do you ever guys, I don't know how to phrase it, do you ever get the feeling when someone's looking at your art, I don't know if it's the trauma Mrs. K put me through, but I hate people looking at my art,
it stresses me out.
Judging it. So when we're doing the arts challenge, when I had to upload it and it was streamed and watched by like 20 people, I know 20 doesn't sound a lot, but that is a lot. And I've been thinking, God, wow, like I can't do this.
I know for me, for some reason, I hate showing it to my family. I'm fine with showing it to literally anyone else, but it's just my family that I can't show it to. I will never show them anything I do because it feels like fake. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because they're always like, oh my god, it's so good. But I'm like, I just hate that. It makes me feel really awkward.
Yeah.
On the other hand, my mother is a bit different. She hates my artwork. She's like, yeah, why is the nose like that? And I'm like, I don't know. It's just like that. You gotta deal with it. And she's like, but I don't like it. And then she gets angry and she's like, why do you ask me about my opinion if you're not gonna use it? And I'm like...
I feel my mother is like complete opposite. Like she's like Pebble's mum. Like I'd show my mum my work and she'd be like, wow, that's really good, I really like that, and then she'd move on. And like it's like Pebble said, it sounds very like fake. Like sometimes I want criticism, like, but I'm like, I don't know. I remember different exercises we had to do at school where we'd all open our book and all show the same like task we had to do, and everyone had to go around and rate. It was like rate your work, and I hate.
You had to write like a sticky note what you liked about it. And
and then at the end, everyone would stand around this table and pick their favorite and say why they liked it. And if yours wasn't picked, you'd be like, oh, maybe I'm not good. Maybe
I'm the worst artist to ever exist.
Yes. Oh my god. It was horrible.
It would always be like the popular ones being like, oh my god, I really like her work, it's so good. And then like, because I had no friends in my set, because we didn't really talk that much then. No one would ever talk about it. So it was just like, oh, guess I'm bad then.
Because in our set, especially in my Pebble set, like we'd have two tables. One table, which was like, we'd have like, I don't know, 10, 11 people. It'd be like the popular kids. And then the other table is quite long, but it was like different like groups and like different cliques. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but like people, we were separated into 5 forms in our year. So people just stuck with their own friends. And if like I only had like one person who was in my form, who I was friends with, who did art. So when she wasn't there and we had to do this thing, I just sat there.
Yeah, I get you.
Yeah. Fun. I love people judging my art based on their own, like, standards. It's lovely. What do you mean? Great character.
Oh, no.
But actually, some people do give good criticism and they do give good advice.
Yeah.
It's just that some people don't. They like, oh, do this, do that. Let me show you how to do this exactly. Follow my steps exactly. And it gets a bit draining because then it doesn't feel like your artwork anymore.
Especially when the teacher like grabs your book and starts drawing in it herself, and she's like, "Yeah, you should do this," and I'm like, "Yeah, but that's not my work. You've just done a piece for me."
Yeah, personally, I think it's something Pebble experienced in and out of school.
So
with, like, people online, where she posted something online and then somebody gave her like a flat out description of what she had to do.
Sometimes, especially with my digital art, I'm not looking to improve and become the next like Tim Burton level illustrator who's amazing. I'm literally just having fun. So when someone comes in and they're immediately like, yeah, the anatomy's all off, you should be doing this, I'm like, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm literally just here to do a drawing because I like it.
Yeah.
So don't tell me that I've done it all wrong, because I will.
And then you have people that are like, practice makes perfect, like everyone has like a stage, but when you're at that stage, people like have like a go at you. They're like, this isn't what I imagined, so that's wrong. Fun.
Another thing about digital art, when you tell somebody that you do digital art, I think they have really high expectations.
Yeah, because...
And then they see it and they're like, oh, that's not what I imagined, you know?
Yeah.
That's the kind of vibe I sometimes get from some people when I talk to them online.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, might as well just not show my drawings to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, especially with digital art, because it's blown up so much. Like, on Instagram, I feel like Instagram's algorithm is so selective. So when you go on, like, the Explore page and you, like, I don't know, type in art or whatever, or, like, you just scroll through the Explore page, amongst the memes, you have, like, really nice, really, like wow, digital art. And, like, people praise it and they're like, wow, this must have taken you hours, blah, blah, blah. And then you see, like, a smaller account who's just trying to, like, just show their art, like Pebble said, just because they like to do it for fun. And then you have people being like, oh, this doesn't look like this, this, and this, and it doesn't look like this artist, like, this isn't what I imagined.
It's very hard to succeed in the digital space because there is so many people in it.
Yeah. Such a big community.
It's also a shame that some artists are really underrated, even though their work is insanely good.
It's just because they don't have this, like, I feel like depends on where they post their art and when they share it. It depends, like, the algorithm likes and stuff like that. Like, sometimes it just doesn't come up, but their art is, like, insane.
I also think that in today's societies, it matters what you draw. If you want to get the attention of the views, you know, you have to draw things that most people draw. Something that's mainstream, if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because there are people who draw different kinds of things, and it is amazing, but people just don't pay attention to it as much.
Yeah, it's like me. Like, I want to post my contemporary stuff, but it just doesn't get any attention, so I don't. I'm like, oh, might as well not.
Yeah, because, like, obviously the more attention you get, the better, because it promotes your art, which I think is really good with these art challenges. Like, like you get told a theme, you get to be creative as much as possible, and you get, like, posted, and everyone has the same like, everyone has, like, they enjoy different types of work, like different types of styles, and your work gets promoted, even if it's like a small community. Eventually, say, like, you win, like Pebbles did. She won 2nd place, and she had her Instagram promoted, and obviously you get all these people, like, following her, or, like, starting to follow her, or, like her posts, and then that's when other people see it and they're like, oh, my friend followed Pebbles, I wonder who, like, Pebbles is, and that. So I feel like people that do have, like, a platform, I feel like as much as they can, they should, if they want to, obviously, they should promote, like, small artists.
I agree.
Just makes everything better.
I mean, there are some social medias that is really hard to get attention from people. Twitter is one of them. Twitter is probably the worst place to promote your art.
Twitter is like a, like, I don't know, no man's land, where it's just constant beef, constant drama.
Yeah.
It just changes every, like, 2 minutes.
Like, for the art, because my account is an art-themed account, it's just, you see people getting these views, like, you can monitor how many views you get, like, engagements.
Yeah.
But you just don't get the likes, and I'm like, you see this amazing artwork, why aren't you liking
Just
it?
literally just like it. It's like 2 taps. Do it. Just do it. It's just a shame. But yeah.
It's a shame.
So, to sum up, school art brings trauma.
That's true.
In my case. No.
I'm looking forward to not doing it at school anymore, and to do just to do what I'm comfortable with, you know?
Yeah.
Just do it out of school, do the challenges, and have fun.
But now your life is kind of taken over by different art stuff. It's Pebbles. Pebbles has gone quiet.
So I was concentrating. We've been talking for an hour now.
Literally.
I think that's a good place to end it.
Yeah. We've covered a lot of stuff.
So many subtext.
So summary of today is school art sucks most of the time. Take it anyways. It's worth the pain.
That's so negative. The
School art. Sorry, yeah, Karen. Pebbles.
It is stressful, but I do really love it. I have to admit.
I mean, there is fun into it. Like, you get the giggles, you get to mess around sometimes.
I feel like the difference between GCSE and A-level art. With GCSE art, you had people pick art just because they had no other option, as in like they didn't want to do anything else, so they just picked it. So you'd be put into groups with people that didn't really care about art. But now, from like hearing from you guys in your sets and that, you guys is quite small, so you guys have you guys are close and have fun.
Yeah, and you get to have a much better relationship with the teacher, which is a really important thing.
The older you are, the more they appreciate you.
And you get to have mad bants because they actually take the jokes.
Yeah.
But summary: school art, lot of work, but it's good when you're like in a smaller group and you've got good relationships, like students and teacher. Outside of school, it's just as long as you stay, like I don't know, just if you have
just
ideas,
be creative, really.
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't force yourself to do art because you feel like you have to. Just do it for the sake of it being art and something you enjoy.
Exactly. People say that like doing lots of practice is better, but it doesn't count if you hate it.
It's mentally straining.
Yeah. So
that's it. Thank you, Kklolbee, for being in our podcast.
Hope you had
guys
fun.
Liked the video, like, comment, subscribe. Check out Kklolbee's social media. I'll link it in the description.
Oh, right.
Link in description.
You guys should start doing like clickbait.
Clickbait.
Oh my god, yeah. That's a...
Wow, Pebbles does this. No one expected it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So thank you guys for watching. Bye.
Bye bye. See you
Bye.
next time.